that like I keep being inconsistent between like every few moon videos, but this one actually hit me very accurately. The astrology is never wrong. I had the full moon in my Aquarius 4th house, so it was a big ending with my living situation, with me being at home. I'm living currently in LA with my bestie and kind of doing like a test drive on if I like it over here, and just trying to prove some inner world, limited beliefs to myself, which is very 4th house as well. And then naturally, I had the new moon in Leo in my 10th house of career. So I'm out here trying to work, focus on really where I want to take my career and what I'm doing with that. And that's where I've been. That's why I've been absent. So thank you guys for not jumping down my throat. I sometimes get emails from you guys being like, where the hell is the video? And it makes me so happy because I do appreciate that, you guys really gain clarity or see value in the videos that I make for the moon cycles. So thank you guys for being so patient. Here we are, Virgo new moon, August 27th. I'm super excited for this, not just because I'm biased because I have a Virgo new moon, but because it literally gives me back to school energy. I love the Virgo new moon, and especially, earth signs out there probably really love this as well, because it's the buckling down time of everybody kind of getting almost like a third attempt at the final push of like, all right, if you didn't get those New Year's resolutions done, you can do it again now. It's that like final trimester of the year. And I like this new moon too, because it's going to allow us to kind of gain some structure and get some systems in place and some healthy habits in place to kind of stabilize and prepare for the chaos that is to come with the second set of eclipses, late fall, October, November, etc. We do have Mars entering Gemini on August 20th, so about a day later after me recording this. And there's a big transit happening with Mars here that's pretty unheard of when it comes to the planet, because Mars itself is pretty quick moving. It's one of our personal planets, meaning that it stays in a sign for about 2 months or so, but because it's going retrograde, it's actually going to be in Gemini for 7 months. 7. This planet is going to be in Gemini until March 2023. Can you believe that? So we're going to really have to get used to this Mars and Gemini energy, and there's going to be a square between the new moon and then Mars newly in Gemini on August 27th. So there's kind of this need for action, need for change, need for a decision making, or even like a head-to-head conflict and collision and action point between this new moon, where our energy and feelings and inner world revolves around systems, organization, being diligent, being productive, getting on top of our A game, taking care of our health, holistic health, our mental health, servitude, the things that we do to take care of ourselves and kind of create a better structured world for ourselves. All of those Virgo themes on top of now this conflict or action point with Mars and Gemini being passion, a need for drive, vitality, energy, even conflict when it comes to things like communication, speaking, talking, writing, using your voice, emails, speaking up for yourself, getting clear on ideas and thoughts. We have to remember both Virgo and Gemini are Mercury ruled planets. So like information, communication, and connecting the dots, like getting from point A to point B, are the main underlying factor here, the common denominator between the two. We know that new moons are typically inviting new energy in, new beginnings, a fresh new start, being able to kind of see the manifestation of things that we've let go of during the full moon culminate into a new evolved version of itself. So I'm really excited for this. This is happening in my 11th house with my natal moon in there. And then naturally I'm going to be having Mars in my 8th house. So if you want to see how this is going to affect you, I am going to talk about it obviously for each rising sign, but I do want you guys to try and understand, based off of your natal placements, if there's any being highlighted through aspects, how this is going to affect you on a deeply personal level. Of course, if you want any more insight or you have any questions, or you want somebody who's more experienced to really elaborate on how this is going to affect you directly, you can always book a reading. Everything that you need is going to be in the description in my bio. I have a Patreon link there, subscription. I have my email list. I have all my social media. But if you would like a reading specifically for you, there's plenty of different services to choose from. With that being said, I want to get into how this is going to affect all of the rising signs, of course. Typically, I only explain what the new or full moon is going to mean for the rising signs based off of the area of the house that it falls in the chart. However, I am going to try and paint a larger image for you guys and give the explanations a little bit more meat to work with. That way you can understand it. So I am going to include the square to Mars and where or what two areas of your life you can expect to be pretty active or illuminated during this time. So if we just run over the aspects that are happening really quick, Virgo's the very grounded, mutable earth sign. It's incredibly articulate, meticulous, detail-oriented, very virginal and pure, and it's really the best little micromanager in the world. So we're going to be getting a lot of, like I said, that back to school energy, new beginnings regarding themes around what Virgo rules, such as structure, organization, healing, creating healthier habits, etc. We're going to have the moon square Mars. That's the main, exact aspect. That's kind of the star of the show here. We're also going to have Mercury trine Mars, so it's going to be active with that as well. So again, a head-to-head decision, conflict, or need for change or action between how we feel versus our vitality or our determination to actually make some things happen. So being really driven to bring our thoughts, ideas, and conversations into the physical world through a manifestation of tangible change and progress that we can actually, see and touch and feel. And then we're also going to be having this continual, Venus square Uranus, but also Venus opposite Saturn energy. So lots of unpredictable and destabilizing changes, and we can expect a lot of disruptions as well, thrusting us out of our comfort zone and really robbing us of our typical, self-soothing vices in order to encourage a more mature, responsible, wise version of ourselves. You can expect, like shakeup of finances, romance situation, pleasures, indulgences, etc. So this new moon is going to be square Mars in Gemini, meaning there's going to be that need for change, conflict, collision between feelings and actions in the houses that Virgo and Gemini rule in your chart. Let's get into it. Go off of your rising sign. That's going to give you the most accurate interpretation of how this is going to affect you. Aries risings, this new moon is happening in your 6th house of work, health, habits, routines, pets, labor, structure, jobs, etc. And the new moon is going to be square Mars in Gemini in your 3rd house of everyday routine, short trips, social media, friends, family, environments that are very familiar, people that you see every day, the books that you read, the podcasts you listen to, etc. So I would say that there could be a new beginning in the way that your everyday habits or decisions are forming what your world looks like when you zoom out of it. So obviously in the day-to-day, it can feel like when we procrastinate things or when we never quite get around to the thing that is important but not a priority, that it's always going to be there for us to get to later. There's always tomorrow, there's always I'm going to start on Monday, but I feel like this is going to be a new structural beginning for you to really plant your feet down and commit to something or dedicate yourself to something or see some productivity around either the vitality of like your physical health or starting a new job or building new positive habits that in your day-to-day, when you see it over, the progress over like 2 weeks or a month, you'll be able to be like, whoa, okay, this is actually important that I take these baby steps every day because it creates a much more successful and stable, larger image. So this could be anything from like a new routine to starting an entirely new job, maybe getting a new pet, switching up your environment, unfollowing people that don't really do you anything important on social media and starting to pick up a new book that's going to give you some value, learning something new, like a practical skill or a trade or something like that you could use to your benefit. And I think this is going to be a good time for you to maybe not have any, huge physical changes happen in your world, but tiny little baby steps that you'll be able to count on and thank yourself for later, that you're like, okay, cool, that implication of that small thing actually improved the foundation of what my world really looks like. Taurus risings, this new moon is happening in your 5th house of sex, romance, children, fun, entertainment, creativity, pleasure, and your inner child. And it's going to be square Mars in your 2nd house of self-worth, income, values, and possessions. So right now I feel like this is an important time for you to, first of all, enjoy yourself, because a new moon in the 5th house is arguably one of the best placements to have, or transits to have, I should say, because it's usually like, meeting a new romantic partner or being able to start a new creative project or even diving into like something that's that's just getting you in touch with something that feels good to you, pleasurable to you. And because we're having this square between your second house of finances and income, this could look like starting a new passion project or a creative sort of thing going on that might create a new source of income for you, or like shake up your finances in a way that actually might be quite lucrative. Or this could look like you finding a new romantic interest or something that reflects the self-worth and the values that you hold about yourself now. So instead of looking back and maybe seeing the patterns of like your dating history or people that you've hooked up with or something like that maybe not being the best partners, this could look like a new beginning in your world of romance in a way that positively kind of asks you to reflect on how you feel about yourself, what this reflects about your self-worth, how your values come into this, etc. I do feel like this is a fun, cool time to like pour a money or like an emotional or financial investment into something that feels really fun and creative and pleasurable to you, because it could be something where like that initial investment might actually pay back tenfold, especially if it's something that's really lighting up your insides in the sense that it feels good to you, it's important to you, it's something special just for you, even if other people don't co-sign to it. Cancer risings, this new moon is happening in your third house of everyday routine, communication, environment, people, content consumption, thought processes, short trips, cars, transportation, and conversations. So this is really like the people that you follow online, the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the environment that you're used to, the way that you get to work every single day. And this is going to be square Mars in your 12th house of your subconscious mind, sleep and dreams, hidden information, healing, endings, letting go. So this is an interesting combination because you're taking something from the physical world that can be quite boring or mundane, like what you do on a day-to-day basis, what your morning routine looks like, the mailman that you wave to every single day, and how that's kind of coinciding with your mental health. And I know that sounds like a weird connection, but I would say that having a new beginning here could look like you getting into like maybe learning a new skill that's going to help your mental health, going to help your brain stop focusing on, super traumatic memories for you. Or it could look like building new habits in your everyday life, whether that's taking a new route to work to like switch up the patterns of like, negative thinking on the way to work or something like that, or unfollowing people on social media that don't really do you or give you a lot of value in order to improve the limited beliefs that you have about your life or things like that. I feel like there is a touch of information. It's going to be important for you here in creating positive boundaries and routines and habits in the smaller, like on a smaller scale in your everyday life, whether that comes to like boundaries with your friends or the people around you or the way that you talk to people in your neighborhood, etc., in order to kind of create a better internal world for you. So it's kind of like new beginnings in your environment and how that's bleeding into the way that you're going to feel comfortable living inside of your head. Leo risings, this new moon is happening in your second house of money, finances, values, possessions, self-worth, emotional and financial security, ownership, things that belong to you, etc. And this is going to be square Mars in your 11th house of friends, groups, community, social media, money, and influence. I'm excited for Leo risings because having a new moon in your second house is always a fun time because it's either money, and if it's not money, it's self-worth. It's like being able to see that you've bossed up in a way that is either showing itself to you through like your income and like what's happening in your bank account, how you're storing your money, how you're budgeting, the things that you're able to buy, the things that you're able to afford, versus how you feel about yourself, your values, the boundaries that you have, not allowing people to, play with you anymore. So having a new moon here, I feel like is really exciting, especially for the fact that it's square your 11th house, because the 11th house is now how other people see you as a leader or of influence or as an authority. So I feel like there's something here where you're going to be able to either gain more confidence through your ability to affect or influence other people on a large scale. And if it's not that, it could look like you getting like a huge paycheck or a spike in income based off of other people's trust in you, other people seeing you as an expert, or other people seeing something in you that's kind of this connection between how am I affecting other people and how is that pouring back to me in a way that's incredibly rewarding. If it's not that, I would say you actually might meet like a new friend or a new mentor or network with the right person that can connect you in a way that's going to allow you to get a new source of income or a new boost in finances, or a way that kind of celebrates your values about yourself in a way where you might finally feel like you're being seen. Virgo risings, you're the star of the show here. You have the new moon in your first house of self, identity, looks, personality, sense of self, perspective, approach to life, etc. So this is all about you, baby. Having the new moon in your first house is really like a glow up era. And if it's not physically like you switching up your hair or you getting a new look when it comes to your clothes or the way you carry yourself or something like that. It's usually this like refreshing full body shower of you like having a personality glow up, having a new perspective on life or approach to life in a way that's really new and exciting and invigorating. This is going to be square Mars and Gemini in your 10th house of career, public image, reputation, accomplishments, and confidence. So you're really winning the game here, because not only are you glowing up, but you're having your career or your public image attached to this. So everybody else is seeing it as well. I think the most obvious example of this would be having a very public success or accomplishment in a way that kind of congratulates you on a very public level. And of course, if you're just an everyday person, you're like, I work a corporate job, I'm not a celebrity, I'm not a famous person, this doesn't rob you of the same opportunity to be recognized or acknowledged or celebrated in a way that really, you know, celebrates your ability to have stood up for yourself or be very confident or stood your ground or had a backbone or did a really big accomplishment or got a promotion or kind of created something worth celebrating. It's a new beginning for you in a very success-driven way, and I think with Mars being super active, this is really going to light up your ability to communicate, to delegate, and to have a lot of vitality through this transit. Libra risings, this new moon is happening in your 12th house of dreams, fears, the subconscious mind, self-sabotage, addiction, escapism, mental health, sleep, and hidden enemies. And this is going to be square Mars in your 9th house of spirituality, philosophy, traveling, higher education, and broadening your horizons. So the 12th house we know is like endings, things coming to culmination and letting go of them. And this being square to your 9th house of new like expansions when it comes to getting out of your comfort zone, thinking outside of the box. This very much gives me spiritual awakening, or you having a revelation or an epiphany of sorts that allows you to look past the boundaries or the four walls that you've been stuck in for quite a while now through the vessel of mental health or holistic health, or just taking care of your body in a way that really affects your mental state and your subconscious mind, because we're working with Virgo here, and Virgo is really a holistic healer. It's this very pure servitude energy of what you can do for other people, but the 12th house is now, okay, what can I do to help myself? And I feel like with that touching on your 9th house, which could be going back to school, traveling and having a revelation when you're outside of the country or when you're just away from home for a little bit, opening your mind, finding a spiritual mentor, just having a connection when it comes to the divine, or meeting like a guru or something like that. There's a very positive, harmonious thing here between your vitality and your energy to learn something new, expand your mind, grasp at new knowledge and information and philosophy in a way that's really going to benefit your mental health and your ability to finally let go of things that have been very painful and taxing for you for a long time. Scorpio risings, this new moon is happening in your 11th house of friends, associates, networking, making money, social media, groups and communities, manifestations, and this is going to be square Mars in your 8th house of sex, death, taxes, investments, and transformations. So this is really interesting because I feel like there might be a new beginning in the way that you're exchanging what belongs to you versus what belongs to the people that you influence, and I do kind of feel like there might be a big money opportunity for you here, in the sense that the 11th house is kind of how you influence other people, how people see you as a leader or an authority or an expert, and people kind of, being the audience to you on stage. And with that being square to Mars, so your vitality and your energy currently being in the 8th house of what you share with other people, shared investments, money, things that you get from other people and things what end up on your plate that belong to other people. I think this could be a very lucrative and organized and dedicated new beginning in terms of like creating a stronger structure or foundation in the way that you make money from other people, or the way that you are simply able to transform who you are and what your experience in life looks like right now based off of the people that you surround yourself with. So making new friends, becoming a part of a group, expanding your network, whether that's professionally, like networking with people that could help you with your career, or just meeting new people in a new environment, finding a new version of yourself through new people that you surround yourself with, or a new perspective or a new authority of some sort in the way that you influence other people, or simply just through manifesting and kind of focusing more so on your hopes and your dreams, considering the 11th house really is alchemizing and working with what you got in order to make your dreams come to life. Sagittarius risings, this new moon is happening in your 10th house of career, public image, reputation, accomplishments, success, confidence, and asserting yourself, and it's going to be square Mars in your 7th house of interpersonal relationships, commitments, business partnerships, and known enemies as well. Having a new moon moon in your 10th house is really exciting because it's more often than not a really incredible career opportunity, like getting a promotion, moving up, starting a new job, getting a more, lucrative position or a new income stream. And if it's not so much career related, because I always try to remind people, astrology was here before capitalism, and your 10th house isn't only limited to like the things that you accomplish on paper when it comes to your corporate job or something like that. However, this could just be that you're becoming more confident, you're building a stronger backbone, you have this more true and authentic and stronger sense of self, and that might be coming through the vessel of the people that you keep very close to you, because this is affecting your 7th house of interpersonal relationships. At the very most challenging aspect of this, it could be that you have a new career opportunity in a way that kind of causes conflict with the people closest to you, whether that's them not co-signing or agreeing with what decision you're making, or you having to like travel for work and that kind of straining a relationship or something like that. But this could even be very positive and action taking and like fast-paced change, in the sense that you might meet a mentor or a business partnership or sign a contract or commit to something that really uproots but supports and creates a stronger foundation for the success of your career. Capricorn risings, this new moon is happening in your 9th house of traveling, wisdom, broadening your horizons, looking outside of the box, education, perspective, and spirituality. And it's going to be square Mars in Gemini, happening in your 6th house of work, health, productivity, habits, servitude, and pets. So having a new moon in your 9th house is usually more of a spiritual or knowledge-based new beginning, in the sense that the 9th house is being able to look outside of the box, being able to expand the 4 walls that you've been stuck in for a while through your perspective, through learning something new, through having a revelation or an epiphany, or getting in touch with divinity and faith and spirituality or your religion, or simply just like going back to school and learning something new. But because there's a square to your 6th house of work in your everyday routine, it makes me think that there's a new beginning in terms of like incorporating some sort of like spiritual or more broadening ideologies into your everyday life or into your routine in a way that allows you to have more freedom, exploration, and feel a little bit less tethered to like the physical world or your physical circumstances or your physical health, or even just like the things that you have to do in your everyday routine, like going to work, working out, having dinner at a certain time, like kind of sprucing it up through this new idea or new change around maybe going on vacation, maybe booking a place to get out of town for a little bit to refresh your mind, or going back to school, learning something new, reading some mind expanding books, getting in touch with maybe like going back to church or something like that. It's like opening the doors to something that might have felt very suffocating for a long time, in a way that might challenge but also support your everyday routine, your physical health, and your ability to be productive at work. In very simple terms, if it's not this big spiritual awakening, it could literally just look like point blank period traveling for work, or it could look like you maybe deciding to leave a job but start a new beginning in terms of like, okay, this might feel like a risk or might feel out of my comfort zone, but I'm willing to walk away from something that is in my physical world, like a job, like a health limitation or something, and kind of go out on a limb and take a leap of faith to something that's more liberating, exciting, adventurous, expansive, etc. Aquarius risings, this is happening, the new moon is happening in your 8th house of sex, death, taxes, shared investments, secrets, privacy, and hidden information. And it's going to be square Mars in Gemini in your 5th house of fun, sex, romance, dating, creativity, and entertainment. So we know that the 8th house is things that we share with other people, right? So to have a new beginning here is almost like this quiet, hushed whisper of a new beginning or change, of transformation, of letting go of one thing in order to step into a new chapter. So it's almost like closing the door and opening it at the same time. And because there's this like square of conflict or pressure or vitality, like energy, a fun, exciting new beginning between your 5th house of romance and things that feel very good to you when it comes to your inner child and what feels good to just you. I feel like there's this new ideology or lesson or awakening or revelation that you're having where you're like, oh wait, I can do things just for me that don't have to always be tethered to another person or benefit another person or be provided for by another person. So we know that the 5th house too is like sex and romance, and the 8th house is sex and things that are shared between other people, things like intimacy and where you meet in the middle. So it could simply just look like beginning a new sexual relationship, or like meeting someone new that you feel more comfortable getting to that intimate point with, even if it's not sexually, like being able to meet them in this more private, hidden area of your life or version of yourself. And I think this is a very transformative time for you too, because the 5th house is like your inner child. It's your creativity, where you kind of get to play around just to feel good, not for work, not for money, not for validation, but what just feels good to you. And to have that new beginning in the 8th house of transformation, it's like you're shedding one version of yourself, stepping into a new one, and being able to find more pleasure and feel more authentic within all of that. This could also just look like starting a new, I use the word contract very loosely. I don't mean like a serious contract, but like maybe signing a lease with a new roommate or something like that, because this is shared investments and it's a new beginning. It could look like stepping into a new chapter where you are beginning to share something with somebody else, whether that's more in a, literal kind of serious way, like going in on a lease, going in on sharing a car together or something like that, all the way to like beginning a new trusting friendship with somebody. Pisces risings, this new moon is happening in your 7th house of relationships, contracts, business partners, open enemies, interpersonal connections, collaborations, and contracts. And it's going to be square Mars in your 4th house of home, family, private life, real estate, and who you are at the core, what's going on behind closed doors, pretty much just your private life. So to have a new beginning in the 7th house is always sweet, because this is the house of relationships and anything like marriage, engagement, really taking the next step into your romantic relationships. And if you're like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about, I am very single, this could look like a business partnership, or it could look like a commitment that you share with somebody else, having a shared goal with like a collaborator of some sort. And to have that square, your 4th house of home, family, things that you can buy for yourself, things that happen behind closed doors, things that might be a little bit more private or intimate to you. I do feel like it is something that's probably more so emphasizing your interpersonal relationships, the people that you keep closest to you, and having a new beginning in one of those relationships, one or more, in a way that might cause a little bit of conflict, but also in terms of like there being some friction that can later be resolved in a very healing way when it comes to either your family or your childhood trauma, or like past memories, or who you are at the core because of the way that you were raised, etc. So for example, getting closer, stepping into a new healing, relationship or version of your relationship, chapter of your relationship, through creating healthy habits or structured habits and boundaries that maybe you didn't have in the household growing up. It could look like diving deeper into a commitment, something like getting engaged, and then having a little bit of conflict because maybe your family doesn't agree with that, but ultimately that becoming more intimate within your partnership, because it allows you to get closer through something that requires communication, which is what Virgo is all about. If it is something that isn't relationship oriented, just because I do want to include examples for everybody, I would say it could look like signing a contract to maybe like open a new lease or open a mortgage or something like that. It could look like sharing real estate with somebody. It could look like moving. It could look like anything between kind of mixing business, relationships, interpersonal relationships, marriage, contracts, things like that, with the themes that rules the 4th house, which is like domestic matters, anything from being super cozy to real estate to buying property to feeling at home to family trauma, etc. I hope this helped you guys. Of course, as always, if you have questions or concerns or comments, or you want me to elaborate on anything, I'm more than happy to in the comments, or you can email me. If you again want a very deep interpretation of how this is going to affect you specifically based off of your own birth chart, you can book a reading in my bio. Again, everything that you need will be in the description. I don't know why I keep saying bio. Patreon will be in there, social media will be in there, my website will be in there, all the little rinky-dink details that you need will be there. And of course, thank you guys for listening. I love you, I love you, I love you, and thank you for trusting me as always.